Guten Morgen! Willkommen! Last time that I was translating, we worked on the main body part of the seahorse. We got the head, and we got the snout, and we got the main body, which I have yet to actually stuff, which I believe they're all like over here right now. Yeah, we have head, body, snout, yeah. Today, it looks like we're going to be starting on the frills. So, it's also been a couple weeks since I've attempted to translate German because I got a new position at work and it was in a different department, so suddenly I had to learn all the things. Well, not all the things. They were very clear that I'm allowed to take my time and whatnot, but there was a lot of new things to learn, so I had to focus my learning energy on that. But now I feel like I'm more at a point where the things aren't coming quite so fast. I got like a nice solid foundation in which I can continue building on. So I've got more mental room for this now, which is great. So I'm going to be starting with the Kragen, and it's with the Rauschblau that I begin with, but it looks like I'm changing to the Mintgrün. So, also what I've noticed is that the way the pattern is written, it looks like it wants 3 different colors. So they're going with Eisblau, Rauschblau, and Mintgrün. So I'm guessing it's like light blue, dark blue, and mint green. But the colors the person chose for the mint green and the light blue, to me, are more or less identical. So I actually spent a long time looking at this and thinking, they're the same color. Like, this is their Mintgrün, the edge here, and this is their Rauschblau. So I'm going to go with my assumption and treat it as though they're the same color, even though I know that they're not. Even if it means I may lose the game of yarn chicken with this, but if I lose the yarn chicken with this, I know what skein I got from the store, which means my attempt to use this up again is once again down the drain, even though it is a kind of rough yarn because it's Red Heart. But there's no dye lot, so means they're more likely to have it, or you can combine skeins and not have the yarn be visibly different colors when they're technically the same color. That you would definitely get for it's like limited edition yarn, except only crafters care about it. In the instructions, it starts with a paragraph. I don't know. It doesn't say Fadenring. So I believe it wants me to chain it. Because if it said Fadenring, it'll be oh yeah, we're working the round. But I don't think we're working in the round with this ruffle. And there's a little blue bracket that says AB 2, which is their figure 2. So, and they're pointing. This is figure 2. So it looks like M-Glide. It looks like this thing that they had me add in a different color is where this frill is going to go. So I think I'm working on the neck frill. I just don't know how much is supposed to be on here. If you don't mind me butchering German for a quick moment, it's beim Hakeln des Kragens seit der Swanswan in Weg Körper mit Rauschblauem Garn im letzten Worden im Glade der 62. Round new anschlagen. I think it wants me to start with 62. Yeah, it's going to get progressively bigger as it goes on. But it starts as smaller. This is where I'm just going to take a flying guess, a leap into the unknown. And I'm just going to chain 62 on the hook. So, to counteract the count. Oh, that tape is ripped. Sorry, I just realized that something is ripped that shouldn't be ripped, so I'm just gonna fix it. This is my like totally high-tech version of making sure I don't stare at myself instead of you guys when I'm looking at the camera. So that was the other side. Haha. Okay. We're keeping it real here. I'm a very distracted person, as I was just about to explain. I'm going to take out row counters because I know if I try to count above 10, I will lose count. Oh, there you go. We'll just mix the blue and white. That's 5, 6. There we go. All right. So I'm just gonna. I also feel like I have the abbreviations somewhere, but I forget where I put them. Is it on the? Nope. That is me writing stuff in French and English. Okay. Like, I have the French abbreviations nearby. I don't have the German abbreviations nearby. Okay. And I missed the thing. I'll have to get that later. Alright. So it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, do 11, then put this in the 10. That's already ein, zwei, drei, vier, then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that's already ein, zwei, drei, vier, then 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There's our ein. I don't know if I split the yarn there or not. I did split the yarn. There you go. No longer splitting the yarn. Better. Okay. Ein, zwei, drei, vier, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then our ein, Say. Dry. Via. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9. Almost there. Ah! So slippery. Oh my gosh. Say. Dry. Via. 5, 6. Why am I holding it in that uncomfortable way? Oh my gosh. But my hand was not happy with me there. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that should be 6, well, 1. That should be 60. It wants me to do 62, so I just do one more. Look at that. So I know I did 10, so then it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 10 is 60, plus the 1, 2, 62. Now I know I did it without having to count a million times. That was just to re-emphasize the point. I totally expected, totally. Okay. And Ganson round Arpenton. I got the feeling I don't want to put this in the round just yet. I don't want to put it in the round until we're actually like on Seahorse Baby. So that way it can be like crocheted exactly how it's supposed to be. So I think I didn't entirely think this through. I should have gotten the paper like ahead of time, but I didn't. Piece of paper. You know what that paper is? Yeah, that paper's not going anywhere, and something to write with. We have the pencil that we always have here. I don't know if the purple pencil's going to show up on green though, but we're going to find out. What kills me is that I feel like I've like done this before, but like okay. I feel like I've done this before, but I don't know where it went. Oh yeah, that was just a random test to find out if I was tone deaf, and apparently I'm not. I just don't quite recognize the sounds like I do different letters. So LM is chain. FM. Yeah, is there like was there like an abbreviation list? No, I don't think this book has an abbreviation list. It just puts abbreviations next to yeah, this book didn't, as helpful as the book is with all these QR codes that it has, it doesn't actually have like an abbreviation list. If I remember right. If I did, I can't remember where I found it. But FM is a single. I don't understand what KM is. Oh. DHSTB is the half double. Which I found out is more of an American thing than an English thing because the Americans have to be different. Well, actually, I guess hobbies is half in German, huh? Then our Stabchen. Our Stabchen looks like a double. Page decided to go like bloop 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 bloop. They're just sticking together. It's like, oh, we really want to be together. Soon, yes, soon we realize was increase. I know I figured out decrease. Oh yeah, and the ab was decrease. I'm sure this is entirely entertaining for you, just to help me figure it out. Oh. And then there are 2M sus is decrease 2 stitches at once. In which I make an abbreviation here that I'm not sure I'm going to understand. But the good news is I can see the purple on top of the green on this paper. Just like, whoop. Yep. Oh, yeah. I've been understanding. IMM only front loop. IHM only back loop. I got that part right. All right, and then that's when it kind of stops giving me abbreviations. So, as we use the scissors, and I'm gonna be right back. Okay. So I just read through the instructions again, and no, they show me the picture right there because I'm supposed to start it in baby here. So, this whole thing that I just spent time on, useless. And the picture that they have here is not the neck, it's some other ruffle. I think it's the head ruffle. In that case, I don't entirely understand, but it would make more sense to actually spend the time to like put it in and then have it attached there, like obviously, right? So, and then it wants me to just continue working the round because it looks like it wants me to continue working in the round. So we just find the spot where it like starts, yeah. Yeah. And then but then why does it want me to chain two? Oh, and then it has me chain 2, so that way when I do, because it's followed from here, I found out it was, this abbreviation is for the double crochet, the STB, the Stabchen. So when it wants me to do that by doing 2 stitches, I'll have enough for the yarn to like go. So often when you like start a new row in crochet, they'll just have you like chain anywhere from like 1 to 3 extra before pulling up, so that way the rest of the yarn, like if this is like the stitches that are going to come forward, if you do like a couple of chains beforehand, you can make sure the first stitch goes like this, versus if you didn't and then you just have the first stitch go into that, you just have this look going between the first stitch and the second stitch of the row, which creates a general like tight, it prevents the yarn from getting too tight. So let's start this, and hopefully this doesn't hinder me like, this shouldn't hinder me stuffing this later, which is something I've been avoiding doing. Even though I literally have a 20-pound box of stuffing. Well, slightly less than 20 pounds because I've been using some of it literally right behind me. So we just start with the 1 and 2, which is literally our first stitch. And now it wants me to do 3 double crochets in the next stitch, then 2 double crochets in the next stitch, and they want me to repeat this 9 times. I think. Yeah? Yeah. So, all right. One, Einstein, dry, which will increase it in such a way that it will make it like, it will put in that curl in naturally because there'll be no way it could lie flat. You know, there was one time when I did like this experiment when I was, I want to say less than 10, or around the age of 10, where I just made like a circle, and then I just increased every stitch. Like every stitch I came across, I increased, which meant the rounds got longer and longer, and the whole thing just became this whole floppy thing. It couldn't lay flat, and I ended up using it for like several things later on. Yeah, this is almost like a clown ruffle. Which Stephen King really killed it for clowns, didn't he? I remember like seeing the book for it in the library, and it was just intriguing because it was this hardcover book with a black cover. It just said it, and it was like that thick. And I was thinking like, oh, maybe one day I'll read that. And then they made like the It movie, and I saw it involved like scary clowns and whatnot. It's like, yeah, I no longer really have any interest in reading this anymore. I think the only Stephen King I really made it through was his one about writing. I attempted to read The Stand, but then I gave it up midway through. The Stand was very, very long. Also, I'm not much of a horror person at all. I don't mind spooky. I will go spooky. I don't like gore. I don't like pure terror. Because I experienced that enough in my actual life with just dealing with my anxiety. It's like, why do I want the media I consume to also reflect that? I wasn't able to watch, like, to be fair, I was the type of person who freaked out over Madeline when I was younger. And Casper the Friendly Ghost. It wasn't until I was much older that I was able to, like, handle the much scarier parts. I think I freaked out over Madeline because Madeline got attached to the chicken in the market, and then they ended up killing the chicken for food, and then they had a scene where Madeline had to eat the chicken. Yeah, it's also a very similar reason why I never really progressed into Indiana Jones. Like, I watched the first Indiana Jones, and I liked the first Indiana Jones, but then I watched, like, the second one. I think it's the Temple of Doom. And I got really freaked out by the dinner scene. Because for me, there is few things more terrifying than going to sit at a table full of food that I wouldn't want to put into my mouth. I don't think I ever finished that movie. I might feel differently about it now. I would have to see. Two, three. Okay. Part of it's just making sure that I don't lose track of what stitch I'm on, honestly. Making sure I do all the important parts for the double crochet. Which is why you've been hearing the clicky noise. I've been keeping track of that. Now, despite freaking out at the Madeline movie, I did love Madeline. I had a Madeline doll. I also had like I think we call it Mrs. Clavel? Or, no, it wouldn't be Mrs. The name of the nun in Madeline. I also had a doll, the nun in Madeline. Maybe it's Clavel. Like, the first thing that pops in mind is Nurse Chapel, but I know that's not Madeline. That's Star Trek. Yeah. We're at 7, so so we do 8, 9. And then it has an abbreviation I don't recognize. I think this book tells me how many times I have to repeat it and not just 9 more. I forget. What does KM stand for? Oh. I think that's the abbreviation I didn't write down because I wasn't going to need it. Go me. Okay. Guess what, Becky? Want the don't. There's like that phrase, it's like, don't assume because it makes an ass out of me and you. Well, this is why we're filming these, because if I mess up while crocheting, me finding out that I'm an ass is a lot of fun. There are other scenarios where finding out that I'm an ass is not as much fun, but crochet, I mean, if you're taking crochet this seriously, like so seriously that you can't laugh at your mistakes while you're doing it, then you're missing the point of crochet. Crochet is supposed to be fun. Same goes for knitting. Yeah, I think that's just a special, like, yeah. It's like a different type of single crochet. Oh. It's just a slip stitch. That's a slip stitch. KM is the slip stitch. All right, let me write that down. Yeah, that would make a lot more sense. Okay, sometimes people need multiple times in order to get the thing right. That's how these things work. Like, not everyone's going to get things on the most try. Most people are not going to get it on the most try. On the first try. Alright, yeah, so this book just does it total. Okay. So now it just wants me to do 3 in the next stitch. 1, 2. That split the yarn, and that just split the yarn again, and oh my gosh, stop splitting yarn. Okay, thank you. 2, 3. Oh. I guess it wants me to skip this part, which feels wrong. Yeah, it would say do it in the next row, but then let's count how many stitches I have to begin with. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 40. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I just have 48. I'm supposed to have 53. So 53 minus 48. Oh, I'm supposed to do it one more time, so it's 1, 2. Okay. It wasn't 9 total, it was 9 more. Because that will bring me up to 53. Yep. I can figure out how to add it. Here, well. Make it work. That's 1. 2. Then 3. And then if I just do the chain stitch, do the slip stitch through that, then boom, I've connected it, and it's all very nice. And we have our first row. We're learning things. We're learning things. Okay. So now, it just wants me to do that same thing, but just double it for the next row. Not like switch back and forth like I did for that, but more like just do 2 double crochets in every single one of the 53 stitches. In round 3 is that again. And that's when I attach the other color. All right. So I'm going to come back when I made a little bit more progress on this, because at this point I think what's left isn't really anything that you guys haven't seen before. So I will be back. I finished the Krogan. Yeah, Krogan, and you can see it's on there pretty secure. It's not, the collar isn't pending quite the way I want it to. It's going to need some shaping, although that may happen better when I stuff the actual body, but we'll see. You can see just like the little touch of an extra color really elevated the collar. It brought it from just a collar to fancy. Okay, just turn it around. I have a little side project going on by my light over here. I made a glow-in-the-dark thing. I thought I was just going to have to hold up to the light for 15 minutes, but then I read the thing and I actually have to hold it up for an hour, and I was originally going to hold the glow-in-the-dark thing for 15 minutes, but I'm not going to hold it up for an hour, so if it ends up blocking my face, whatever. Side quest. Yeah, it's just this little guy right here. There you go. But now we're going to work on the Blaue Mahnenthal in Raschblau, and it's followed by the Runner Melontail. So I think what I'm working on, judging from the colors of stuff, is the little head mohawk thingy that the seahorse has. Like, I think I'm working on this right here, because that splits into like the mint green and the blue compared to everything else that I have left to do. And this one actually tells me to chain. Wow. Okay. So I'm hit with like this first sentence, yeah? This first sentence, einen Lagen Anfangsfaden lassen. And I know people in German aren't probably going to be thinking this, but to me, like, if it's pronounced how I think it's pronounced, everything in that sentence rhymes. Or, like, comes close to rhyming. I remember, like, one time, I had to say a sentence in, like, Spanish, I think it was, and every word in that sentence ended with A or whatnot, and I said to my Spanish teacher, like, oh, that Spanish must be the rhyming language, huh? Because they all sound similar. And she just gave me a really weird look. I wish I could apologize for that, Maestro Chavez, but I'm still of the opinion that Spanish rhymes a lot more than English does. Probably because they end they have less choice of what letters their words end with. So it's Einstein, Jai, Via, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then ein. I'm going to put the little thingy there. All right. So it's ein, zwei, drei, vier, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then we have our ein. But just like, einen Lagen Anfangsfaden lassen. No idea what that means, don't know what it says, but the next sentence is 41 chain anschlagen. And then it says die 40. And then in round Arbitchen, when I look at it, there's something going on here. can kind of guess based off of how it's going to go, yeah. Like, fortunately, the author included the numbers. So I can kind of guess based off of the numbers and off the abbreviations what it is I'm supposed to be doing. I have 21 on here. Okay. Jai, Sai, Via, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 9. Sai, Jai, Via, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then ein. Put that there. I think it tells me to mark, but it wants me to have the general thing it is having me for is it wants me to have 41 stitches on the thing. And when I look at the next direction, which is like with the first, is this the language that calls Rang Ro? I don't think it's in this book. I think it's in my other German book that I get to make the thing from. Rund. Alright, no. No, I think that's French. The languages are starting to like muddle for me because I'm like keeping track of like 4 different knitting abbreviations in my head. Which, considering I already have problem with sensory processing, not the easiest thing to be doing. But okay, I have 41. That's important. I don't have to worry about the extra flavor text there, even though it might not be flavor text. So with the first row, I think it just wants me to do single crochet. Oh yeah, single crochet and then do the 2 stitches. Okay. Because the next row we do something a little bit different. Yeah. So right now I'm just working on the base, it looks like. And I don't think I'm going to need these guys at the moment. So let's just put them down. They serve their purpose. I know I did 41 without meticulous counting and recounting. At work now I have to like constantly count people. So I'm looking at like how other people do it, and like other people, they're just literally counting like one by one. They're just counting. And I know that when I'm doing it, I have to break it up into little groups and then add the groups together, because otherwise I'll lose count. And like someone else, like he will count by groups, but he will add, the numbers will get progressively bigger for him. He will add as he goes along. And then a couple other people just literally count straight up to whatever, how many people it is, which sometimes is over 100. I think the most we had to count at one point was like 163, which in that environment was a lot. It was really crowded that day. It was just like, whew. But in my case, like, I know if I try to count above 10, maybe 20, I can keep count. But then above that, the chances of me making a mistake are a lot greater. So I don't do that too much. I just count like, okay, let me just count this section. I'll write the number down. I'll add it later. I usually end up having like 8 to 9 I think it used to be 9, it's now merged into 8. I now have like 8 groups of numbers to add together. And provided I math correctly, it's pretty accurate. Although sometimes it's like, I thought we got rid of this amount of people. How do we get them back? I thought these people left early, or I thought these people got sent to another department. How did we get them back? Sometimes it's because we have people who show up late. And then it's like, yep, we got rid of it, but it just replenished itself. All good. All right. I'm just making sure my glow-in-the-dark thing bakes evenly. Which is a really odd sentence to be saying. Yeah, we're almost there. All right, so now all 40 stitches have been stitched, and I do 2 chains. Yeah, 1, 2. So that's our first row. So is this telling me in like the 3rd stitch? No, I don't understand what the... There's the first part of the sentence that I don't understand. Like, in die 3 stitches, ab der Nadel einstocken. I don't understand what that means, but what I do understand is like the one where it says Jules to Stabchen in die Nation 40m to LM Wenden. In a typical like pattern, that would just be like make 2 double crochets in the 40 stitches, then chain 2 and turn. That part, I just don't understand what that first part means. I'm going to pray that it's not important. But I can see it wants me to put like 2 double crochets in each single crochet that I've done so far, because it's got the Stabchen abbreviation. And also in the row before, I should have 40 stitches, which I do. And then it increases up to 80 stitches, which is special. Oh. Sorry, my mind just like jumped ahead. And I see the mink runner is attached to the thing that I'm making now. Okay. Oh. Now, back when I was in school, I had like lots of teachers who often went on tangents. And like people would get lost on the tangents and they'd go like, what is this person talking about? But I would still be following the tangents. Like, oh yeah. Like, especially like lots of them were teachers that I ended up respecting too. Like, they need to get from here to here, but in order to get from like here to here, they would go like, and I think part of the reason why I understood that mind process so much is because I think I do the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, we just follow the little road to get to where we need to go. Depending on the scenario and depending on my mental energy, sometimes I'm more willing to follow that train of thought than others. What I have trouble with is when I don't know if someone's going to do that and then they do that and then it's like, huh? Or if someone seems, or if someone just takes like the wrong path, like if they need to get from here to here, but their sentence actually takes it from like here to here. So it's like, all right, let's get from here to here. Let's find out what this road is so we can get the information we need to share with each other. I realize this is like very abstract. I hope it's like making sense. But then again, like the whole concept of speaking is very abstract, isn't it? You know, I had like a really weird dream. Not this last time I was asleep, but the time before that. So I was like shopping in Germany, which is strange. I've never been to Germany, but it's like this combination like bookstore and clothing store, and I was like looking for the tarot cards, and which honestly I think that was influenced by my recent visit to Spirit Halloween for the first time. Where there were like tarot cards with all the costumes. But then like I was looking at this deck, it was titled Cherokee Sayings. So I like opened up the deck and I was looking through it, and it was in a purple pastel container, which strange, like it would be appealing to me but not Cherokee whatsoever. And then inside there were hardly any drawings on the cards. It was mostly writing, and it was like all the cards were silver embossed. It was just like the entire card was like silver, and there was writing on it in like 4 different languages. I didn't recognize one of the languages, but on the top it was like English/sketch drawings, and then it was followed by Egyptian hieroglyphs, and then there was a language I didn't know, and then it was followed by Arabic, which, I mean, I kind of understand how Egyptian and Arabic got there because I've been watching some like I've been watching a documentary uncovering like Egyptian like archaeological digs recently, and then also I understand why Arabic ended up there because I recently had to explain to someone at work how to get out of a computer page that was in Arabic despite not understanding Arabic at all. But it's very much the same sort of skills that I use here, whereas like I know where the different functions are supposed to be on the computer, so even if the language isn't quite the same, I can kind of guess from the location on the screen what it's supposed to be. But yeah, I mean, when you typically think of like any Native American deck, like you wouldn't just have like embossed silver. That's like European nonsense. You would think more like you'd have good pictures of nature. You'd have tons of animals. You'd probably reference like the 4 elements of like water, wind, and fire. You'd be like in a desert or a forest or some sort of natural environment. you wouldn't just have writing on a silver embossed background. And like I was wondering, like, why Cherokee? Why Cherokee specifically? And I researched it because I was like remembering, was Cherokee the Native American tribe that did it? And yes, I found out, yes, Cherokee has the person Sequoia, where he created the first syllabic language for Native American tribes. He didn't know how to read or write, but he spent like 10 years trying to transcribe Cherokee into written form. Which, impressive. Like, I remember reading about that. I'm going to be posting a link to the story more below. It's like, it's interesting that my mind remembered that. I have no idea where my mind stored that, but it was there. And I was thinking, like, at first I couldn't remember, is it the Cherokee or is it the Sioux? And it was definitely the Cherokee. And the reason why I was thinking, like, there's an S related to this is because the guy's name was Sequoia. Anyway, I have no idea why I had that dream. But yeah, it was an interesting dream. Just like maybe it was like embossed silver because the last pack of tarot cards I bought were like prismatic, which means like well they called it themselves prismatic, but it's basically they covered the tarot cards with this thing that when you shine light on it, it reflects back rainbow light. It could be holographic. The cards probably could be considered holographic. But prismatic does seem to fit that better. Which I bought because it was intriguing. It's like, what type of tarot cards would they sell in a Halloween store? And I found out it's one that has a bunch of like mythical monsters on them. Some of which I'm going to have to like Google or Wikipedia because two I already had to like Wikipedia actually because it's like I don't recognize this name. And like we often say that Wikipedia is like unreliable if it's if you're having to write it for a paper for school because like it's not a peer-reviewed resource, it's not verified as true, anyone can edit it. But when it comes to like pop culture stuff, Wikipedia is king. Wikipedia is an amazing resource. In fact, I had to like the last major paper I had to write for college before I got my degree. I was looking for, like, it was my capstone paper. I was looking for this particular statue, the Boy Scout by Robert Tate McKenzie. And because I was trying to track where all those statues were, like where all these different casts of the statues went. And Wikipedia was the one place that was like the closest to actually having a list of where all these statues were. So there was like a little side note in like paper saying, we know Wikipedia is considered unreliable for a college level paper, but this is literally the only resource that exists on this. And I got away with that. Also, there was a lot of like going to visit like the council office for the Boy Scouts to pick up all the things and like visiting the University of Pennsylvania. I ended up in the Navy Yard to see a particular like cast of the statue that's different than some of the other cast. Yeah, there was also like the UPenn like library because like R. Tate McKenzie happened to be professor at the University of Pennsylvania during that time. And it was strange. Like, I spent a lot of, like, my early, well, not my early, my, like, teenage to young adult years looking at the statue we called sloppy socks. But I realized, like, hey, this is something that I can tackle, that I am uniquely qualified to tackle. And trying to counsel a lot of, like, trying to contact a lot of council offices, like Boy Scout council offices throughout the country. Their websites are wildly different. Some look freaking professional, and other of them look like they last got tackled in 1999. And then also, like, I basically did as much research as I can without having to pick up a phone, because picking up a phone was, and still somewhat is, terrifying to me. Anyway, I am very thankful that my job does not require me writing essays anymore. Oh my gosh. It was probably the only time in my degree where I was actually practicing art history. So, what they don't tell you about your art history degree, if you get it, is that, like, when I was going for my art history degree, they were going like, hey, Becky, what's your area of study? And it's like, I don't really have an area of study. I haven't been asked to declare an area of study. And that's because if they do not require you to declare your area of study of art history until you're going for your master's. If you're getting a bachelor's degree in art history, you are getting imbued with a primer. You are being exposed to a bunch of different time periods of art history to see which one you like. It's kind of like they're training you to be an encyclopedia. They're training you to analyze all this stuff. They're training you because you don't know, like, you don't know what you like until you're exposed to it, yeah? And then, in order to, like, keep on studying this artwork, like, if you decide to go for your master's, that's when you get into the nitty-gritty of, okay, I had this artwork, I'm now going to focus on this piece, and then I'm going to explain more about it and go more in depth about it. Like, the bachelor's degree is just like, this is what, like, it's more like, this artwork exists then, this artwork has all these different details, you're learning about it. And then art history as a master's is more like, we're going to actually go more into the research here. I remember the teacher saying, like, yeah, we don't really get into the actual, like, art history until your master's degree. We're sorry about that. And it's like, wait, what? You're telling me this just as I'm about to finish my degree? Okay. Like, at that point, by the time I got my bachelor's degree, I was just sick of school. It was a lot harder for me to get my bachelor's degree than I was expecting. So now we do the 2 stitches and turn, yeah. Yeah. Oh, and then we do the same. Okay. So by the time that what's it called? Yeah, like, when I first started college, my original plan was to get my master's degree, like, right after I finished my bachelor's. But by the time I actually finished my bachelor's, like, you know what? I'm tired of school. I've been in school pretty much my entire life at this point. I need a break. And I haven't haven't exactly gone back since then. It's like I've been trying to figure out, because like I'm in that lovely position right now where I don't have any college debt. So definitely going back to school makes me think about, is the debt worth it? If I were going back, I'd probably go back to a community college, or maybe not a degree program, but like just for a class at the moment. But especially for what I ultimately ended up doing, a master's degree is not necessary. But I feel like if I were to go down the path of choosing a period of art to study, I would be focusing on art that's being made today. Because then I would be focusing on like making the primary resources instead of creating like the resources upon resources upon resources, like down to the third resource. Because if you think about it, a lot of the research that, like, if you think about what people do at the Renaissance, they're relying on primary resources to come across their ideas. Like, this is how this thing was at this time. Or, like, there's lots of paintings that don't exist anymore that we only know existed in the past because they, what's it called? Like, they were written about and they were described. So who's doing that for today's work? Yeah. And especially when I think about the Renaissance in particular, like, it's very hard to find an original point of view because so many people have talked about it over the ages. With work today, you still have a chance to make that original point, yeah. It's like, okay, you can see this relates. It's like, okay, you can see this relates to that. This is the way we're doing it and whatnot. Also, there's like a lot of art that looks different. Not because the artist was trying to make a point, but because the artist simply switched the materials that were made. Like a good place to see this is a stained glass. Like, the way that the stained glass looked in the past, like, looks entirely different than stained glass, like, 200 years later than that, because in that time they made developments in the stained glass, and, like, when you make a new development, of course, it's going to change. Like, literally the whole reason, or not the whole reason, but literally, like, a huge part of what made Impressionism possible was the fact that they started mass producing oil paint. Before that, oil paint was something that you had to make by hand. So when oil paint is then being made by a factory, of course, like, if you're making it by hand, you're only going to make the amount that you need, and so you get a lot of these thinly layered paintings. While with the factory, you're getting mass produced, well, suddenly you can put thick slabs on, and of course you're going to experiment with that, yeah? Or, like, even going into the Renaissance was only possible because oil paint was discovered. Or maybe not only possible, but was largely possible because oil paint was discovered. Because before that, the paint was egg tempera, which dries very, very quickly and had to be imbued into the plaster when making frescoes to help bind it so it wouldn't flake off. Like, you had to rush it down. It was just like, okay, bing, bang, boom. Oil painting cleared the drying time. Well, not cleared the drying, it lengthened the drying time. So suddenly you were finally able to, like, build up your work like you could if you were using charcoal. And that's why you suddenly got a lot of these, like, hyper realistic paintings that you never had before. Yeah, it really kills me when someone goes like, hey, like Renaissance was the last time there was good art. It's like, no, it wasn't. Good art happens all the time. It's just people have these, try to put these pretentious, like, opinions on things and not appreciating the wide variety that art could actually be. I think part of the reason why it's like hard to keep track of the art that's being made now is because, like, technically, I would say a lot of art history, like within the past 100 years, you could actually pull from movies and like film and whatnot. But that's a whole separate, that is a whole separate major in colleges. And so people don't typically think about, people think like, oh, art has to be still. And it's like, no, a lot of our art is moving nowadays. I mean, it's going to be hard to put a GIF in a textbook unless the textbook is online. But I'm pretty sure sometime in the future, someone is going to be studying art history and their whole thesis is going to be about the evolution of GIFs. That's going to happen. Don't know when that's going to happen, but that is going to happen and possibly has already happened. I'm just not going to be the person to do it. Because I don't care enough to do that. Anyway, this is just going to be more of me doing the same thing. So I'm going to come back when this part is done and I have to attach the next part to this. I finished the blaue Mententeil in the Rauschblau, so this is it. And there's like this TikTok sound. It's like, it's not that bad. It needs a little shaping. Let's go to the salon. No, it's do the salon. And then you can see it put together. It's used with like a lot of crochet TikToks when they're like putting a piece together. I feel that's like what this is. Like, once I do a little bit of shaping to get the curls the way I want them to go, it's going to look amazing. It's just not there yet. Not there yet. But it's allowed to get there. And then the Mintgrunner Mountaintail is what we're about to start. And when I look at the instructions, they literally look identical, pretty much. There's also 4 rows. It tells me to do the same thing. The only difference is it gives me the little light gray thing where it says like abbreviation. So instead of just chaining 40 like I did with the last one, if you can kind of see, if I'm not shining it out here, I'm literally, oh, I was saying I didn't understand a sentence at the beginning. I now understand what that sentence was. But I can still do what I need to do. It's all good. So, to continue the first thought, and then I'll get back to that thought. It wants me to just do the first 40 in the bottom row of this one, so that way they're attached. That way they're connected by crocheting instead of connecting by sewing, which usually creates like a stronger hold. That sentence I was complaining no, not that one. It was like light markeren and that. It wanted me to put a stitch marker so I knew where to start here. But that's not what we did. That means we're going to have to guess. I wasn't even really going to count it that much anyway. I was just going to guess. But It is what it is. Yeah. Yeah. I already also wove in the ends to this because I liked this piece, because trying to weave them in after the fact, not fun. Not fun. Yeah, it wants me to do the 40 stitches yet, so just 1, 2. This is where we're going to find out if I did it correctly. There's a bunch of instructions it's telling me to do. Oh, okay. So I do another 40 stitches after I do this. So that way they end up being somewhat the same size. Yeah. So that these guys are identical. 3. It's gonna be fun having to sew this later on. Oh my gosh. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then we're just hoping that I started in the right stitch. Anyway, there was a part of me that's don't put the stitch markers away yet. Now I see why. It was for this. I thought I was just being lazy, but there was a part of me internally that was don't put the stitch markers away yet. You're going to use them again. Not now we know. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 5. It was awkward counting in 2 different languages. Just in one language, just 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the other language 5, 6, 7, 8. It's just what a weird, literally no one counts no one counts like that and actually expects to keep track. As I say, roasting myself earlier in the past 2 videos. 7. You know, I don't know if this is true or not, but I read somewhere that if you want to find out what someone's native language is, you get them to unexpectedly count, because they will, without thinking, go to count in their native language. There's a scene from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea where Captain Nemo in his summer, the main character ends up in Captain Nemo's submarine. Captain Nemo doesn't go on land, and Captain Nemo doesn't want to let them go away, but they want to go back, if I remember correctly. I don't really remember too much about it. I only read it because of the doc in Back to the Future mentioned it was his favorite book. And I was like, well, I really like Back to the Future. Let's see what this is like. And there's this scene where it's but one of the things is Captain Nemo creates this conglomerate language, and then forces all of his employees to learn this language, but one of them dies unexpectedly and utters a word in French, and the narrator goes the guy spoke in French. Wow, that was his native language. Which, considering Jules Verne's originally spoken French, makes sense, although it doesn't quite have, it probably seems more poignant in the French than when you're reading it in English like I was. I think I still have that book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Reading Jules Verne's stuff is very weird because his characters don't make choices that are sensible. It's like they make a choice, and then when they realize that the choice doesn't go the way it should go, where did the stitch marker go? they keep going through with it anyway. So let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like in Around the World in 80 Days. The guy makes a bet to go around the world in 80 days, and then he bets his entire fortune. It's like, you could make that bet, and like, you could go around the world in 80 days, and you can also make a bet about it, but you don't have to bet your entire fortune to do it. You don't have to be that certain. Or like, we're going to launch Earth to the moon. We're going to launch, I guess it's before space travel actually happened, so he didn't know there wasn't any way to breathe on the moon. It's like, yeah, we're going to launch you to the moon without any oxygen for you to breathe. But we're going to make sure to bring guns, so that way when we interact with the moon people, we can shoot them if they don't go our way. I mean, or like, when it became obvious that you can't go to the center of the earth because it's a molten thing of lava, it's like, you're going to a really big journey, but then you're not going to bring enough food with you because it's somehow going to grow food when you get to the center of the earth. I think it's very clear now. One, it would be a bad idea to go to the center of earth because volcanoes. But two, nothing grows beyond the crust. You gotta bring your food with you. It's like going to space. You gotta bring your food with you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, the other part that really sticks out to me is the fact that, like, in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, like, Captain Nemo figures out a way to, like, turn the sea into his, like, to, like, get everything he needs from the sea. So one of the things they find important to bring up is the fact that, he's managed to make cigars out of seaweed. It's like this golden type of seaweed. And they spend a lot of time talking about this. And as I'm reading this, it's like, you're under the water, you have a limited amount of oxygen, so you're going to set fire to something that's going to eat up the oxygen and fill it with this useless smoke that you can't breathe. I mean, yeah, it seems like an amazing innovation, but you're killing yourself in the process, dude. Unless you have a way to recycle the oxygen, which I'm not sure you do. But dude lived in the 1800s. He doesn't know as much science as we do now. Maybe I'm overanalyzing this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Holy heavens above. I started it in the right spot. It is exactly where it needs to be. Man, I'm good. Yeah. I didn't need no stinking markers. Well, I did to count, but... Dude, we just got this on lock in my mind here. Like, that this is like nearly 2 decades of muscle memory coming to work here. Well, not 2 decades with crochet, but 2 decades with yarn. More than 2 decades. If I'm just going to do yarn, I'm going to take out knitting, crocheting. That's more than 2 decades. Because I'm pretty sure I started working with yarn before I knew how to knit. Yeah. It's very hard to keep my own personal timeline intact. Yes, now I do that and it wants me to do the thing, so we do the thing. Okay. I was often thinking, like, so lots of these, like, there was a trend on a while for YouTube where they would do Draw My Life, where they would draw, like, this is how my life goes. And when I think about my own personal life, I feel like that would not be the best way, because there were like 6 different timelines going through my life at once of like different areas of my life, and they're all kind of coherent, and it's kind of hard to know exactly what happened when, right? And it's like, this was more like the schooling timeline, and this was the religion timeline, and this was the health timeline, and this was like where I lived timeline, and they all kind of all happened at once, and it's very... There was one time I, like, wrote it all down. Actually, I have my phone right here. Is this where I wrote it? Oh. That was a nice picture I did. I was just playing around. But... Time deck, which is something different. I don't think I need a list for CVS anymore for March. Order, that is... all iCloud. Yeah, not in my all iCloud one. I feel like I put it on my phone and not my... I guess I deleted it. Or I put it on my iPad, which I can't check right now because I'm using that to film. I feel like I wrote that out at some point before. But to kind of prove my point, like, I just came across a note that said air pressure headache. I know that was the time when I was wondering if the air pressure was giving me headaches, so I was trying to keep track of the air pressure. And that didn't last very long, the keeping track part. Because the headaches were just, like, really bad. And it's like, why are my headaches so bad? Part of it got, like, a huge part of it got solved when I last went to the eye doctor. And the doctor's like, you realize your prescription's too strong, right? Like, basically, I only, and to put it into car terms, I needed the equivalent of a Corolla, but my glasses were like having an 18-wheeler truck. And then I switched to, like, the lesser prescription, and we also threw the blue light into my glass, like, the blue light blocker into my glasses, too. Because, like, why not? And the combination of that made a lot of my headaches disappear. And it's like, oh, I'm in less pain. This is amazing. And I'd worn that last pair of glasses for 5 years. 5. I'd been having, like, really bad headaches during a good portion of that time and not connecting the dots that was what was going on. It's like, I just accepted it as normal. Like, yes, headaches are a part of my life. Thank you. I just have to learn how to deal with this, and it's really hard to deal with this. And it's like, no, they don't have to be as much a part of your life as they have been, Becky. You don't have to suffer. I know I need to get my eyes checked, but I'm afraid when I get my eyes checked, the prescription's going to change again. And I kind of really like the glasses I'm wearing now. I kind of don't want to get new ones. Like, I do like the fact that I found out there's like where I can get cheaper glasses, so I can like alternate between the glasses, and that means I can wear more fun frames instead of having to get a boring color that matches with everything. Like, instead of forcing myself to wear black frames all the time, I can switch between the green and the blue. It's nice. Although I realize I'm probably going to have to get my eyes checked because, I mean, I already know that when it comes to my senses deteriorating, as I know they're bound to over time, I'm going to be thrown more for a loop if my eyes go than if my ears go. While I will still be desperately thrown for a loop if my ears go. Having my eyes go would be instrumentally more catastrophic. There we go. So I think the rest is just like following up and getting them to match, and then we just kind of have them fold in half together like this, yeah, and then that's how I'm gonna like sew it on. So I'm gonna come back when I finish the little green thing and kind of force the mahan tails to go together. Alright, so I finished the mahan tails and I have it together. I kind of folded it so it's all together in one area, and it looks like the one part is, the blue is slightly bigger than the green in this case, which I don't know how that happened. It kind of bugs me, but I have to remind myself that you guys wouldn't have known if I hadn't told you. And it's a very small, minuscule thing, like literally who's gonna care? So after looking over the footage that I already have, I'm gonna end this part here. And we'll be starting the fins when we come back next time. So that was today's entertainment. Have a nice day. Auf Wiedersehen.